The drama started on the sideline, but what really happened between Jeudy and Shedeur was far more than a simple disagreement over a play. From the moment the cameras caught the exchange, fans immediately sensed the tension. On one side, Jeudy was visibly heated, gesturing, and trying to make his point. On the other, Shedeur stayed calm, measured, and composed, almost as if he had anticipated that moments like this were part of the game. It was a clash that, at first glance, seemed minor, just two players letting emotions run high. But the aftermath revealed that it was a turning point, at least in perception, for the two teammates. In sports, emotional outbursts happen all the time. Football is intense, fast-paced, and pressure-filled, and players often let frustration spill over in the heat of the moment. But not every heated moment is handled equally. What set this confrontation apart was the way each player reacted afterward. Jeudy, who had clearly lost his composure for a split second, seemed almost panicked once he realized the cameras had captured the incident. His subsequent attempts to apologize and downplay the situation felt rushed, defensive, and, to many observers, performative. It wasn't just about the argument, it was about how he tried to control the narrative after the fact. Shedeur, by contrast, didn't react with panic or defensiveness. On the field, he maintained a level of professionalism that made Jeudy's reactions look even more dramatic. He didn't escalate the confrontation, he didn't throw back snide comments, and he didn't let the moment distract him from the game. This quiet composure is something rare, especially for a rookie facing intense scrutiny, pressure, and high expectations. Shedeur's behavior set him apart not just as a player, but as someone capable of leadership under duress. The media's coverage amplified the moment, turning what might have been an isolated exchange into a story of conflict and leadership. Jeudy tried to brush it off, claiming it was just football and insisting that everything was fine. But there was a disconnect between what he said and how he actually appeared. He avoided details, rushed through responses, and seemed eager to convince everyone, including himself, that this was a minor issue. For viewers paying close attention, the contradiction was clear. This was not a simple misunderstanding. What makes this clash compelling is the contrast in approaches. Jeudy's visible panic, defensiveness, and vague explanations made him look unprepared to handle conflict. Meanwhile, Shedeur's calm, steady, and unshaken demeanor highlighted his ability to stay professional even under pressure. It wasn't just about who was right or wrong. It was about who could manage emotions, maintain focus, and influence the team positively. In many ways, this confrontation was a microcosm of larger issues: leadership, trust, accountability, and how players handle tension on a team struggling to stay cohesive. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay locked in on all the latest NFL drama, make sure you hit that like button. It helps the video reach more people who love this content just like you. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another update, reaction, or storyline as it unfolds in real time. I also want to hear from you in the comments. What do you think about Shedeur Sanders' performance and the Browns' collapse? Drop your thoughts below and let's talk about it. And don't forget to share this video with friends who follow the NFL. Your support truly keeps the channel moving forward. Fans online immediately noticed the difference, and social media buzzed with speculation. Some wondered if this was a turning point in Jeudy's relationship with Shedeur, while others speculated about whether it revealed cracks in team chemistry. And that's where the real story begins, not just on the field, but behind the scenes, in how each player chooses to respond when emotions flare and the spotlight is unforgiving. Transition hook. But what happened when they faced the cameras afterward was even more revealing, and it showed a side of Jeudy and Shedeur that most people don't see. That's where the real story starts. The sideline confrontation might have lasted only a few seconds, but the fallout was magnified the moment Jeudy and Shedeur stepped in front of the cameras. Press conferences have a way of exposing more than just words. They reveal attitudes, priorities, and even character under pressure. And in this case, what we saw from Jeudy was a mixture of panic, defensiveness, and vague deflection that told a story far different from the calm professionalism Shedeur displayed on the field. As soon as reporters began asking about the exchange, Jeudy's composure seemed to crumble. His answers were rushed and clipped, avoiding details and attempting to minimize the incident. "It was about a play," he said, over and over, as if repeating the same simple line would somehow erase the tension fans had just witnessed. But the truth is, his responses only highlighted the problem. It became clear that Jeudy wasn't just downplaying a minor misunderstanding. He was struggling to take accountability in real time, and that hesitation spoke volumes. The way Jeudy handled the press compared to Shedeur was stark. While Jeudy was defensive and evasive, Shedeur didn't feel the need to over-explain or justify himself. On the field, Shedeur had stayed composed, but here, Jeudy's attempt to control the narrative backfired. Every rushed answer, every vague comment, painted him as someone more concerned with perception than progress. You could see the subtle panic. His tone suggested he was trying to convince himself that everything was fine, rather than addressing what really happened. Observers quickly picked up on the underlying tension. Jeudy's attempts to brush off the incident as just football only made it more obvious that he was uncomfortable. That defensiveness is often a telltale sign. The player who is trying hardest to convince everyone it's nothing is usually the one feeling the weight of the moment the most. Fans noticed it immediately, and social media lit up with speculation, questioning not just the clash itself, but Jeudy's ability to lead and communicate effectively under pressure. Meanwhile, Shedeur's approach was quietly powerful. He didn't raise his voice or make dramatic gestures. He maintained focus and professionalism. Even without saying much, he sent a clear message. Emotions don't control him, and he's capable of handling high-pressure situations with composure. In contrast to Jeudy's scramble, Shedeur's calmness amplified his image as someone who could genuinely lead on and off the field. The contrast wasn't subtle, it was glaring. The press conference revealed more than just a conflict over a play. It highlighted a gap in leadership and accountability. Jeudy seemed intent on avoiding deeper questions, providing short, surface-level answers that failed to address the underlying issues. The more he tried to normalize the incident, the more it became evident that he was struggling with his own mindset, not just the team dynamics. This wasn't simply about a single sideline argument. It was a glimpse into how conflict, pressure, and ego play out in a professional sports environment. And while Jeudy tried to reassure fans and reporters that everything was fine, the tension was unmistakable. Observers couldn't help but notice the irony. The player who lost his cool on the field was now pretending calm, while the one who stayed composed in the moment had nothing to prove. This reveal set the stage for the bigger story, the ongoing contrast between Jeudy's words and Shedeur's actions, between panic and professionalism, and ultimately between perception and reality. Transition hook. But this wasn't just about one press conference or one heated moment. It was a snapshot of deeper leadership challenges and trust issues that had been simmering behind the scenes, and the next section shows exactly why these differences matter for the whole team. The sideline clash and press conference weren't just isolated incidents. They revealed a deeper issue: leadership, or rather, the lack of it. In a team sport like football, leadership isn't measured by flashy plays or stats on the board. It's measured by how a player responds when things get tough, when emotions flare, and when the spotlight is unforgiving. In this situation, Jeudy and Shedeur presented a textbook contrast in leadership styles, and the difference couldn't be more pronounced. Jeudy's attempts to downplay the confrontation during interviews suggested a player more concerned with appearances than accountability. His short, vague answers, "It was just a play. We talked about it off camera," made it clear he was avoiding the deeper issues at hand. True leaders don't hide behind words. They confront problems head-on, explain themselves clearly, and take responsibility when necessary. Jeudy's responses hinted at discomfort, as if admitting any misstep would make him vulnerable. It wasn't just a lack of clarity, it was a lack of ownership, and ownership is the cornerstone of leadership in any team environment. Shedeur, on the other hand, demonstrated a different kind of leadership entirely. Calm, composed, and professional, he handled the heat of the moment with maturity that belied his rookie status. He didn't need to explain himself to the cameras or justify every action. By keeping his focus on the game and the team, Shedeur sent a clear message. Leadership isn't about defending yourself, It's about staying consistent and guiding others, even when the situation is tense. The difference between the two players also extended beyond just reactions. Leadership in football is about reliability and consistency, both on and off the field. Shedeur has been quietly putting in the work to earn trust from his teammates, focusing on preparation, communication, and execution. Jeudy, in contrast, seemed more reactive than proactive. His frustration with the team's performance overshadowed his role in building cohesion. He offered minimal effort in bridging gaps or resolving tension, relying instead on generic statements and surface-level reassurances. This wasn't just a sideline issue, it was symptomatic of a larger challenge for the team. Another key aspect of leadership is how one handles accountability when mistakes happen. Jeudy's reluctance to acknowledge his role in the confrontation or miscommunication demonstrated a gap in this critical area. A leader doesn't simply claim everything is fine after a tense moment. They reflect, learn, and communicate honestly with teammates. Shedeur, by contrast, embodied this principle. His calm and methodical approach in the same situation reflected not only personal maturity, but also respect for the team and the process. His actions made it clear that leadership is more than words, it's behavior under pressure. This contrast also has ripple effects across the locker room. Teammates notice when a player hides behind vague excuses versus when they step up and take responsibility. Jeudy's behavior risked eroding trust and creating uncertainty among players, while Shedeur's quiet, steady presence reinforced cohesion and stability. Leadership, after all, isn't just about individual performance. It's about influencing others, building confidence, and fostering unity, even in the face of adversity. Ultimately, the sideline confrontation and press conference were more than just isolated moments. They were a lens through which we could observe the very nature of leadership. Jeudy struggled with accountability and composure, while Shedeur proved that true leadership is measured not in words, but in consistent actions, professionalism, and the ability to stay calm when the stakes are highest. For the team, this contrast raises a critical question. If leadership continues to be inconsistent, how will the squad handle future pressure? And more importantly, can Jeudy rise to meet the standards that Shedeur has quietly set? Transition hook. But leadership isn't just about handling arguments or taking responsibility. It's about trust, team chemistry, and the unseen work that goes into keeping a team united. That's where the next section takes us, the real story behind trust and collaboration in the locker room. Leadership alone doesn't win games. Trust and team chemistry are just as critical. And in the case of Jeudy and Shedeur, the contrast in how they approach trust couldn't be more obvious. On the surface, Jeudy gives the impression that he understands the importance of trust, casually mentioning repetition as the key to building it. But anyone who's watched football closely knows trust runs far deeper than just running the same plays over and over. It's about reliability, support, and the willingness to go the extra mile to ensure your teammates can depend on you when it matters most. Jeudy's comments during interviews suggest a more superficial understanding. He talks about practicing plays and repeating drills, as if trust can be built in a vacuum without meaningful connection or effort beyond the field. There's little indication that he's investing in the relationships or communication required to truly earn a quarterback's confidence. Trust isn't something you talk about. It's something you prove through action. Unfortunately, Jeudy's answers come across as short, surface level, and, frankly, lazy, signaling that he may not grasp how much effort is required to foster unity on a struggling team. Shedeur, on the other hand, understands this principle intuitively. Behind the scenes, he's been putting in the work to build real trust, spending time connecting with teammates, practicing communication, and ensuring everyone is on the same page. It's not flashy or attention-grabbing, but it's the kind of leadership that keeps a team functional when adversity hits. Shedeur knows that trust is fragile, especially in a locker room dealing with inconsistent performance and coaching challenges, and he's making deliberate moves to maintain it. His quiet diligence creates stability, while Jeudy's lack of visible effort leaves questions about his commitment and reliability. The tension between surface-level effort and meaningful engagement becomes more apparent when we look at how conflict is handled. Jeudy's attempts to downplay or sweep issues under the rug, like the sideline confrontation, highlight a lack of awareness about how small moments can erode trust. When a teammate sees avoidance instead of accountability, confidence falters. Shedeur, by contrast, demonstrates that trust isn't about grand gestures. It's about consistency, professionalism, and being there when it counts. Every interaction he has with teammates builds credibility, even when the spotlight isn't on him. Another key factor is communication beyond practice. Trust and chemistry aren't just built during drills. They're built through conversation, feedback, and collaborative problem-solving. Jeudy seems content with talking, just to talk, without following up with actions that reinforce connection and accountability. Shedeur, meanwhile, works off-camera, understanding that consistent effort and reliability foster a locker room where players feel safe and confident in each other. It's this behind-the-scenes work that separates a true leader from someone who simply talks a big game. Ultimately, trust and chemistry form the foundation of any successful team. Jeudy's approach risks leaving gaps in the locker room, creating tension, and weakening the team's ability to respond under pressure. Shedeur's approach, grounded in diligence and consistency, reinforces unity and ensures the team functions even in adversity. The contrast is striking. One player talks, the other acts. And it's the acting, the quiet, persistent effort, that builds a culture capable of overcoming challenges. Transition hook. And while trust is critical, it's closely tied to mindset and how players handle frustration. That's where Jeudy and Shedeur diverge again, showing that leadership isn't just about action, it's about mental resilience. The next section dives into how frustration is managed and why it matters for the team's future. Frustration is part of football. It's unavoidable when the season isn't going the way you hoped, when plays fail, and when expectations clash with reality. But how players handle that frustration can define not just their own performance, but the tone of the entire team. And in the case of Jeudy and Shedeur, the difference in approach is striking. During interviews, Jeudy's comments about managing frustration often sound surface level, almost rehearsed. Phrases like, "You can only control what you can control and trust the process," are familiar cliches, but they don't reveal much about how he's really coping. They read more like safety nets, designed to sound mature without actually showing accountability, growth, or actionable effort. For a player facing the pressure of a tough season, this kind of generic response doesn't inspire confidence in teammates or fans. It hints at a mindset stuck in a loop of repeating buzzwords rather than addressing challenges head-on. Shedeur's approach, by contrast, is rooted in action, discipline, and mental resilience. Frustration doesn't make him lash out or hide behind generic statements. It fuels him. He channels negative energy into preparation, effort, and consistency, demonstrating the kind of professionalism that separates good players from true leaders. While Jeudy talks about frustration, Shedeur uses it to sharpen focus and guide the team, quietly proving that leadership isn't just about managing the moment. It's about influencing the outcome, both personally and collectively. This difference in mindset also affects how the locker room functions. A player who allows frustration to dictate behavior, or who gives surface-level answers about controlling emotions, risks spreading uncertainty and tension. Teammates notice when someone avoids responsibility or relies on cliches instead of showing genuine effort. Jeudy's approach creates gaps in leadership and can subtly undermine team confidence, especially when repeated over time. On the other hand, Shedeur's disciplined mindset reinforces trust, signaling to teammates that adversity doesn't shake his focus or commitment. Frustration also tests resilience under pressure. For Shedeur, each challenge, whether rookie-level expectations, critical media attention, or team struggles, is an opportunity to grow. He doesn't let setbacks define him. Jeudy, however, seems to get caught in cycles of frustration without taking meaningful steps to turn that energy into productivity or influence. It's not just about attitude, it's about the tangible impact on performance and leadership within the team. What's particularly striking is how this mindset intersects with responsibility and accountability. Frustration can be an excuse for avoiding tough conversations or sidestepping leadership duties. Jeudy's tendency to hide behind generic phrases and deflect tough questions suggests he's not fully leveraging frustration as a tool for growth. Shedeur, by contrast, demonstrates that mental toughness isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about transforming it into action, guiding teammates, and maintaining composure when every eye is on you. Ultimately, handling frustration isn't just a personal skill, it's a leadership skill. It influences trust, chemistry, and the ability to navigate high-pressure moments that define seasons. Jeudy's responses reveal a player still struggling to convert frustration into meaningful action, while Shedeur shows resilience, focus, and an ability to lead through challenge. This contrast highlights a deeper truth. In football, the mental game can be just as important as the physical one. And the players who master it shape the culture and future of their team. Transition hook, but frustration and mindset are only part of the picture. The way players interact with media and public perception can also make or break their leadership. Up next, we'll see how Jeudy's comments on social media and public scrutiny reveal another layer of tension, and how Shedeur continues to lead quietly amidst the noise. In today's game, the spotlight doesn't end on the field. Media coverage, social media, and public scrutiny constantly amplify every mistake, every heated exchange, and every misstep. For players like Jeudy and Shedeur, handling this pressure is just as critical as executing plays. And yet, the contrast between them is undeniable. While Shedeur quietly maintains professionalism and focus, Jeudy often appears more concerned with optics than actual accountability, revealing cracks in his approach to leadership. Jeudy's comments about social media and negativity are a prime example. He often dismisses outside opinions, saying things like, "We live a real life, not what's on social media," suggesting that external criticism is blown out of proportion. On the surface, this might sound reasonable. Media hype and fan reactions can be distracting, but the underlying message is one of avoidance. By framing criticism as irrelevant without addressing the real issues in the locker room, Jeudy is essentially sidestepping responsibility. The tension from the sideline confrontation didn't magically disappear. Ignoring it publicly doesn't resolve it privately, and teammates notice when problems are brushed aside. Meanwhile, Shedeur continues to set himself apart through quiet consistency. He doesn't need to justify his actions to outsiders or dominate the narrative. His leadership is grounded in performance, preparation, and reliability. He understands that accountability isn't about avoiding criticism. It's about being dependable, handling pressure, and maintaining composure even when the cameras are rolling. While Jeudy focuses on minimizing negative perception, Shedeur focuses on impact, both on the field and in the locker room. The disparity also highlights the danger of letting social pressure dictate behavior. Jeudy seems more concerned with appearances than substance, sweeping conflicts under the rug, giving rehearsed answers, and emphasizing superficial explanations may temporarily placate fans or media, but it does nothing to strengthen trust, unity, or credibility with teammates. Leadership isn't about looking good. It's about doing what's necessary, even when no one is watching, and guiding others through challenges. Shedeur embodies this principle, showing that true accountability comes from action, not words. Furthermore, the way Jeudy interacts with media exposes a broader pattern of avoidance. He tends to provide generic, surface-level answers designed to sound confident without actually confronting the underlying problem. This creates the perception that he's disconnected from the real struggles the team faces. Shedeur's approach, on the other hand, reinforces trust because it's authentic. He engages with the team, not the cameras, and focuses on solving problems rather than spinning narratives. The contrast is clear. One player hides behind language, the other builds credibility through results and reliability. Handling media pressure is also about controlling the narrative without losing integrity. Jeudy's deflection and defensiveness may shield him temporarily, but it risks eroding confidence over time. Shedeur demonstrates that the best way to manage scrutiny is through consistent action and professionalism, letting results speak for themselves. This quiet leadership often has a stronger, longer-lasting impact than any well-crafted interview or social media post. Ultimately, this section highlights a vital truth. Accountability isn't optional, and media pressure doesn't excuse it. Jeudy's attempts to downplay, deflect, and manage appearances reveal gaps in leadership, while Shedeur's composed, consistent approach proves that credibility comes from effort, professionalism, and integrity. For the team, these differences could define not just their season, but the culture of the locker room itself. Transition hook, but accountability and media pressure aren't the only external factors shaping this story. Coaching, or the lack of intervention, plays a silent yet critical role. The next section explores how Stefanski's quiet leadership, or absence of it, affects the dynamics between Jeudy, Shedeur, and the rest of the team. While player behavior drives much of the drama on and off the field, coaching, or the lack thereof, can quietly determine how these situations play out. In the case of Jeudy and Shedeur, Stefanski's leadership, or what some might call his quiet approach, has created an environment where tensions simmer just beneath the surface. His coaching style isn't necessarily ineffective, but it highlights a challenge. When players aren't held accountable or when communication gaps go unaddressed, even minor incidents can escalate into bigger issues that affect the team's overall performance. From the sideline confrontation to the press conference, it's clear that the players are operating in an environment where leadership isn't always proactive. Stefanski's low-profile style means that when conflicts arise, the resolution falls primarily on the players themselves. While this can empower strong leaders like Shedeur, it can also expose weaknesses in those less prepared to handle pressure, such as Jeudy. Without a strong guiding hand to address miscommunications, clarify expectations, or reinforce accountability, even talented players can struggle to maintain cohesion. The contrast between Jeudy and Shedeur becomes even more apparent against this backdrop. Shedeur has learned to navigate the pressures of both the game and the locker room without depending entirely on coaching intervention. He anticipates challenges, stays composed under scrutiny, and proactively works to maintain trust and chemistry with teammates. Jeudy, meanwhile, seems to rely on the assumption that leadership or direction will come from elsewhere, often avoiding deeper engagement or accountability. This reliance, or lack thereof, creates a gap that can undermine team dynamics and exacerbate tensions. Coaching also plays a critical role in shaping team culture. When a coach doesn't address conflicts head-on or fails to provide guidance during moments of tension, players often take cues from each other. In this environment, Shedeur's professionalism stands out even more because he's essentially modeling leadership behavior in the absence of intervention. Jeudy, by contrast, appears to flounder when left to navigate the pressure on his own, highlighting the importance of proactive coaching in bridging gaps and reinforcing expectations. Another key factor is the cumulative impact of unresolved issues. Small conflicts like the sideline argument may seem trivial in isolation, but when combined with vague communication, frustration, and media scrutiny, they can ripple throughout the locker room. Stefanski's quiet style, while not inherently negative, can inadvertently allow these tensions to persist. It's a reminder that coaching isn't just about game strategy. It's about managing personalities, fostering trust, and ensuring that players like Jeudy and Shedeur can coexist productively, even under stress. Ultimately, the bigger picture shows that team dynamics are shaped by a combination of player behavior and coaching influence. Jeudy's defensive responses, lack of accountability, and surface-level engagement reveal areas where leadership is needed but not consistently applied. Shedeur, in contrast, demonstrates that true professionalism can thrive even in less-than-ideal environments. The contrast between the two players isn't just about talent. It's about who can step up when leadership gaps exist and maintain focus under pressure. Transition hook, all of these elements, the sideline clash, trust issues, mindset, media pressure, and coaching dynamics, come together to shape the team's future. In the conclusion, we'll summarize what this tells us about Jeudy, Shedeur, and the potential for their partnership to succeed, leaving viewers with a thought-provoking question about the season ahead. After examining the sideline clash, the press conference, trust issues, mindset differences, media pressure, and coaching influence, the picture is clear. The story of Jeudy and Shedeur is as much about leadership and accountability as it is about football. Each incident, each comment, and each reaction reveals not just the challenges the team faces, but the personal growth, or lack thereof, of the players themselves. For viewers, it's a lesson in how professionalism, composure, and effort can make or break relationships on and off the field. Jeudy's journey, at this point, shows a player struggling to fully embrace leadership responsibilities. From rushed apologies to vague interview answers and an over-reliance on cliches, he often seems more focused on appearances than real solutions. He's reactive rather than proactive, defensive rather than accountable, and at times, more concerned with social perception than team chemistry. These traits, while understandable under pressure, highlight the difference between someone who talks about leadership and someone who actually demonstrates it. Shedeur, in contrast, stands as a model of professionalism and maturity. From handling the sideline confrontation without escalating it, to working behind the scenes to build trust and chemistry, he embodies the type of leadership that elevates a team even amidst adversity. His approach demonstrates that true influence isn't about being loud, defensive, or media-savvy. It's about consistency, effort, and resilience. He leads by example, earning credibility and respect without needing to dominate the narrative. The broader picture underscores that football isn't just a game of stats or plays. It's a game of relationships, trust, and mental fortitude. Team success depends on players being accountable, proactive, and willing to put in the work beyond what's visible on the field. Jeudy has the talent and the opportunity, but the question remains, will he step up to match Shedeur's level of commitment and maturity? The season ahead may hinge on whether he can turn frustration into leadership, empty words into action, and defensiveness into accountability. Coaching also plays a subtle but important role in this story. Stefanski's quiet approach creates room for players like Shedeur to thrive, but it also exposes gaps when players aren't ready to take responsibility. Leadership in this environment becomes a choice. Each player's decisions, how they handle conflict, frustration, media scrutiny, and interpersonal dynamics, can ripple through the locker room, influencing team morale and performance. For Jeudy, this is both a challenge and an opportunity. Step up or risk falling further behind. For viewers, the story of Jeudy and Shedeur is fascinating because it's relatable beyond football. It's about how people respond under pressure, how trust is built or eroded, and how true leadership is measured not by words, but by consistent action. It's a reminder that talent alone isn't enough. Professionalism, accountability, and resilience define who thrives in high-pressure situations. So here's the question for fans and followers. Can Jeudy and Shedeur build a partnership strong enough to overcome not just the team's struggles, but their personal differences in mindset and leadership? Will Jeudy learn to match Shedeur's composure and initiative, or will these clashes continue to define their dynamic? And as the season unfolds, can this team turn potential into results, or will unresolved tensions continue to surface? The answers will unfold on the field, but the lessons are already clear. Leadership, trust, and accountability aren't just football concepts. They're universal principles that determine success in sports and in life. Call to engagement. What do you think? Can Jeudy step up and align with Shedeur's leadership? Or is this a partnership destined for ongoing tension? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more breakdowns like this, where we dig into the real stories behind the headlines.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow and lets us know you love this kind of content. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, or anyone who loves football as much as you do. The more the conversation spreads, the better it gets. Most importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we drop fresh stories, wild rumors, or breaking updates that the mainstream media won't talk about.